What would you trade for one perfect moment? Youth, genius, love, power, your savings, your reputation, your soul. Goethe's Faust is the story of wanting more than life can give, and of remembering, before you say yes, to ask the price. It was written by Johann Wolfgang von Goethe, a German writer who stood with one foot in the Enlightenment, where reason sets the terms, and one foot in Romanticism, where the heart refuses to be quiet. He spent decades on this work. The part most readers love is the first, the bargain, the love, the fall, the mercy. Before anything earthly begins, the curtain lifts in heaven. Angels praise the splendor of the world. A figure in black, Mephistopheles, smiles at the noise humans make and calls it cleverness. If the name Mephistopheles sounds distant, keep this in mind. He is the voice of the shortcut, the counselor who always has a smoother way. God points to a scholar on earth, a man called Faust, and says something like a law of human nature. People make mistakes as long as they strive. The wager is simple and severe. If Faust keeps striving, there is hope. If he ever stops at the wrong moment and calls that stopping happiness, he loses. You'll hear that thought return because it's the backbone of the play. Keep moving, but choose direction. Don't let a comfortable second become your chain. When we meet Faust, it's midnight, and the room is too small for his hunger. Skulls, glass flasks, parchments, a window that admits more cold than light. He has studied philosophy and law and medicine and even theology, and he says, "I am no wiser than before." It is the honesty of burnout. He doesn't want more information. He wants the center, what holds the world together in its inmost. He stares at a glowing diagram, a kind of mystical map called the macrocosm, and for one charged instant it works. The pattern hums, the chest lifts, everything connects. Then the feeling breaks, and a presence steps through the air. The earth spirit, not a ghost and not a god, but the personified life force of becoming. Faust reaches toward it, dazzled. The reply is a cut made with kindness. "You resemble the spirit you can grasp, not me." I carry that line around because it keeps saving me from impatience. Before insight comes capacity. Grow the vessel, then the wine makes sense. Despair pulls the room even smaller. On the desk is a vial with an easy end. He lifts it. And then church bells move through the window. An Easter chorus, the sound of childhood and neighbours, and a world that's alive without him. He sets the vial down. The next day, he walks under a bright, ordinary sky and breathes a sentence that feels like air itself. "Here I am human. Here I'm allowed to be." This is not an argument, it's a climate. Sometimes the answer to a philosophical crisis is not a new concept, it's oxygen. Go outside. Remember you are a person before you are a problem to be solved. That's the moment when the clever friend arrives. Mephistopheles does not break the door with smoke. He sits in the chair and sounds like a solution. He offers youth and speed and pleasure, a quickened nerve, a calendar that finally feels like life. But he does not ask for a signature of ownership. He prefers a wager. If Faust ever says to a moment, "Stay, you are so fair," if he ever clutches satisfaction hard enough to stop growing, then the bet is lost. Notice the tactic. He isn't pushing evil. He is selling contentment that paralyzes. He also tosses out sentences that sound fresh and can be fatal if you don't listen closely. Grey, dear friend, is every theory. Green, the golden tree of life. It can mean, don't overthink, live. It can also mean, don't think, distract yourself. In our century, that sounds like the infinite feed, a night of novelty that leaves the morning strangely empty. So we keep the refrain close. Keep striving, but choose direction. Ask the price. Then a door opens on the street and the whole play changes temperature. Margaret, Gretchen, enters without thunder. She is careful, devout, practical. She asks small questions about ordinary things. Faust wants her, not an idea. Mephistopheles knows the leverage points of a quiet life. He orchestrates a box of jewels because desire likes a package. A neighbour's gossip because reputations bend action. A sleeping potion, so mother won't notice, because harm loves to arrive dressed as help. The pressure builds in increments. Her brother Valentine dies defending family honour on a wet street. The mother never wakes from that harmless dose. Gretchen is pregnant and alone. A child is lost. The city speaks its judgment. Faust tries to break her out of prison. Gretchen refuses the escape. She recognizes what has happened and chooses to face it. And then, in a line that tightens the throat because it seems impossible in this room, a voice says of her, "She is saved." Mercy doesn't erase the past. It transforms the direction of the future. It doesn't make a wrong right. It refuses to let the wrong be the last word. Let's hold the themes where we can touch them while the story is still warm. First, striving versus stopping. The wager in heaven isn't a dare, it is a diagnosis. Human beings are built to move. We learn by trying, we bruise and we learn again. The danger is not the effort, the danger is the moment you freeze and call that freezing fulfillment. If you've ever told yourself, this is enough, simply because you were afraid to ask what it costs, you know how easily a pose becomes a prison. Second, capacity before insight. When the earth spirit says you resemble the spirit you can grasp, it is a map for growing up. You can't pour the ocean into a teacup. The cup breaks. Or worse, you lie to yourself about how much water you're holding. The work is to widen the cup, to build a self that can carry a larger truth without spilling it on everyone around you. Read more, yes, but also live in a way that can hold what you read. Third, saturation versus meaning. Mephistopheles does not need you to be cruel. He needs you to be busy. He wants your attention overfull and your heart undernourished. When everything is pleasure, nothing is purpose. When every second is content, almost nothing becomes contentment. So the old caution meets the new century. Don't confuse movement with direction. Before you press stay, ask the price. Fourth, belief under pressure. Gretchen asks Faust what he actually believes, not what he can defend in conversation, but what he will obey when it hurts. Belief is the name for the thing you serve when no one else can see you. By that measure, Gretchen, in her small room, has more truth in her than all of Faust's certificates. The play doesn't say knowledge is useless. It says knowledge without obedience corrodes the heart. And above all of this runs time, the true accountant. The devil can promise you excitement. He cannot stop the clock. Every bargain is settled in hours and years. That's one reason the most frightening sentence in the whole story is not, "I am damned," but, "Stay. Stay, you are so fair." Stay can be a lullaby or a trap, depending on who sings it and why. If you're driving or distracted, here's the path in one sweep so the story stays clear. A wager in heaven. Keep striving and there is hope. Stop and you lose yourself. A scholar at midnight. I have studied and I am no wiser, which is the courage of telling the truth about emptiness. A mystical encounter. Capacity before insight. grow the vessel. Easter bells and a sentence that feels like air. Here I am human. Here I'm allowed to be. A pact that is really a bet, not a sale of the soul, but a test of satisfaction. A love that is not a metaphor. Gretchen's ordinary goodness confronted by extraordinary pressure. A refusal to run from the truth, and a final, startling mercy. She is saved. Some lines are worth carrying because they hold shape under stress. When Faust says, "Two souls, alas, dwell in my breast," he names the split most of us feel. The pull downward toward appetite and the pull upward toward meaning. The task is not to amputate one soul and worship the other. It is to integrate the appetite so it doesn't eat the meaning, and to school the meaning so it doesn't despise the body that must carry it. When Mephistopheles purrs that theory is grey and the tree of life is green, I remind myself that anti-theory can become its own lazy theory. Thinking badly is not better than thinking well. And when Gretchen is named saved, I hear the kind of mercy that does not cancel consequence, but refuses to let shame be the only narrator. If you ask, where is Mephistopheles now? I think he lives in the frictionless shortcut, in the sentence, "You deserve this," when "this" is quietly billed to someone else. In the all-night scroll that makes the morning feel like failure. In the temptation to rename distraction as self-care. There is a counter-voice from another tradition, Taoism, that says those who rush ahead don't get very far. It sits well next to Goethe for me, because both warn in different idioms that speed is not depth. The play does not command us to slow down forever. It invites us to move with direction, to keep striving without falling in love with the wrong stop. As a reviewer, not just a summarizer, I keep coming back to this. Faust is not perfect, it's a lifetime's experiment, but it is necessary. It refuses two easy exits, the exit of pure pleasure, which flatters you into stopping, and the exit of pure withdrawal, which flatters you into never risking again. Goethe asks for an adult posture, movement guided by meaning, desire educated by reality, error that is told the truth about itself and is therefore able to teach, love that treats a person as a soul and not as a cure for boredom. That is why Gretchen's story hurts and heals at the same time. It shows the weight of small choices and the possibility of grace. And here, at the end, is my small personal note. I like telling the classics because, when they work, they feel more honest than the news. I don't try to cover everything in a book like this. I try to hold up what struck me most. A scholar who can't breathe inside his own brilliance. A tempter who sells comfort and calls it wisdom. A girl who keeps her soul in a room without light. A bell that rings at the right second. The themes I carry out are simple and durable. Keep striving, but choose direction. Grow the vessel before you chase a bigger vision. Don't mistake saturation for meaning. Let belief show itself in what you obey when it costs you. Remember that time is the accountant, and that stay can be a prayer or a trap. Want your life fully. Don't ask it to stop. Spend your time well. Ask the price before you hold a moment too tightly. And when the bells ring, whatever your bells are, step outside and remember, here you are human. Here you're allowed to be.